Okay, fantastic. So, hi guys, welcome to the PwC X Athena Hackathon, and we are doing our session on communicating with impact. So tomorrow, the successful teams who win their individual prizes will then be needing to pitch in front of our judges. So communication and ensuring that you are telling a story with your pitch is very important, and yes, that's what we're here to talk about today. So, actually, sorry. So as I say, just to introduce ourselves, I'm Beth. I work for PwC as a tech consultant and do all sorts of bits delivering technology solutions for clients.
Hi, I'm Belle. I'm one of the lead technology recruitment managers for the UK. I look after all the hiring from senior associate level all the way through to director level. So my job is to ensure that we identify top talent and make sure that people are onto the best career paths possible.
Yeah.
We're going to talk through some of the fundamentals of communicating with impact today. So one of the key things that we think is important is about creating a presence and also the importance of storytelling. So we've got a few kind of useful examples around that. So in terms of putting that into practice, we'll get you to break out into small groups. For those of you who are joining us online, you might like to just take some of the themes and really think about how you would apply those to what you're focusing on in your hack teams and how you want to present that, but also to help you with your pitches for tomorrow as well. So how do we communicate with impact? Let me share a little bit about myself. So I am a recruitment consultant here at PwC, but in my spare time, I'm a classically trained singer. I have to get up on stage and sing in front of a huge number of people on a fairly regular basis as part of a team. Now, in order to be successful as a choral singer, you have to listen to the people around you. Not only do you have to listen, you have to learn from the people around you as well. Because sometimes we're reading from music, and sometimes we are not. And that can be quite scary. So when we're on stage, you have to really think about your body language, you have to think about how you're going to project your voice, and you have to think about everything from the physicality. And that absolutely applies to how you present as well. So I want to share a few useful techniques for you. When you're presenting, think about how your body is facing to your audience, because you really want to be engaging, okay? But not only that, you want to be thinking about how you're going to project your voice. Now, I can project my voice very well because I'm a singer. But so let me share you some tips on that as well. When you're thinking about how you project your voice, remember that your vocal cords are two tiny muscles at the back of your throat. If you ensure that your shoulders are back and that you are feeling quite relaxed in your jaw, and you might need to do some practice on this, so just like everyone give it a go, bit of yawning. And just go like, on the side. Can you feel the space on the side of your throat? Can you feel that opening up? The more open that is, the more your voice is able to project. Useful tip, useful tip. In terms of your body language and keeping your airway open, think of, you might have heard of, if you can check this out as well, it's called the Alexander technique. It's super helpful. But if you think about a string coming out of the top of your head and it pulls your head up, this also opens up your airway, and again, it allows you to project, and also keeping your shoulders back as well, super helpful. Legs slightly apart too, you'll find that, and slightly loose knees, your weight is equally balanced as well, and you're going to be stable on your feet. Also very important when you're performing, but also when you're pitching as well. Now, as you can see from here, a lot of, 55% of communicating with impact is your body language. So if you're hunched, or you're not facing the audience, or you've got your hand up against your face, or you're not sure what to do with your hands. For me, sometimes I'm moving my hands around a little bit too much. So sometimes I just put them in front of me like this, or I put them behind me. Or if you have a lectern, also quite helpful, you can just balance them on the edge. In terms of tone, I think tone is super important because this gives you the presence in the room, right? So, and I'm sure that everyone's had experience, maybe when you've been doing some studying, or even when you're speaking to your friends. Think about the tone of the voice that you use, and how do you make that different to your audience? So, I have a very different tone of voice when I speak to my nephews, who are 3 and 5, compared to how I speak to my partner, compared to how I speak to an audience like your lovely selves. So think about that voice. What do you want your voice to sound like? How do you want to come across? It's really important that you think that through, because it will absolutely shine through when you're presenting. So take the time, just take the time to think about, how is it that I want to come across? And what is the message that you want to get across as well? Because all of that's going to be communicated in your tone and your body language. Only 7% is actually in the words that we say. So in terms of your presence on stage, there's lots of things that you can do to think about taking up space with the body and the voice. So you can shout, you can be really quiet to get people's attention, because then you are drawing people in, super useful. You can offer up different opinions, so based on my experience, drawing people into your audience. I recommend we do X. So if you're negotiating with somebody, or maybe even in your hack teams, how do you ensure that everybody has a fair voice? It's really important to draw people into your conversation. Sometimes you have to set limits. So sometimes you might need to actually deliver quite a difficult message. So I think hackathon is probably a really great example of this, where you have got a massive time limit. So you've got to be realistic about what is it that how much you're going to discuss and how much you're going to do. And if you're feeling like it's going off track, it's okay to say. But let people know, communicate with the people around you. And take the initiative. So I think that we've had a really great experience just stood on our stand this afternoon so far. Lots of people have been coming to speak to us to understand a little bit more about ESG and what that actually means and how on earth do they break it down. And one of the key things that I took away from that was, okay, so this is really cool that people want to think about it, but also they were getting overwhelmed with how big the topic is as well. So what the takeaways were there is about taking the initiative. I was like, okay, maybe you're looking at it too broadly. Why don't you pick a topic that really matters to you, and then you're going to be able to take that away and really, when it comes to the pitch, really be able to showcase why it's important to you and how you believe it's going to have an impact on somebody around you. And then the human connection. I think that building an emotional connection is really important with people about telling a story. I was really keen to share my story about how important singing is in my life and the joy that brings me. Think about how you want to relate to your audience. Music's such an important part of my life. It's my therapy outside of work. It's my relaxation. But it's also something I really enjoy sharing with people and being up on stage and sharing from the stage. So I think that those are the kind of, so to just summarize there, so we've got pitch, your pace, and your production. The 3 Ps. There you go.
Cool, another one for you.
Excellent. Okay, so when we started this session, we were talking about the importance of storytelling. So we looked into some of the research that we have access to here at PwC, and the storytelling, I think, is really powerful. And one of the 5 themes, some of the 5 themes that we thought really stood out to us are like how you actually share an idea and concept. And it starts with the dream phase. Now, this will all be very relatable to all of us, I'm sure. I think that once you have a great idea, and that's already happening in the hack, and it's super exciting to hear people buzzing with conversation on this, then you need to get people to commit to it, don't you? So maybe some of your team members are not quite convinced of your idea. That's okay, but keep talking it through, keep talking it through. And then there's the fight phase. It's like, okay, so we've got to create this moment. We want to create this moment, and we want to help people be creative and address the problem. So really be clear on your problem statement. What does this actually mean? What are you actually solving? And then there's the climb. That's the establishing bit, right? This is the moment of taking the journey and making it real. And that's what you're going to be needing to do in your pitches tomorrow. I'm one of the judges tomorrow, and what I'm looking for from people is to hear this passion about why you've created the solution and how you believe it's going to impact our community. And that's our community worldwide. Showcase have this amazing impact worldwide. I'm so excited by all the people who are on Discord from all over the world. Hi, everyone. And I'm so excited to see like all these ideas. We have this amazing international connected community. So think about that journey, like how are you going to take myself and the other judges on that journey to make sure that we really understand like what your vision has been and the amazing solution that you put together. And then once you've finished, what about the reflection afterwards? Take some time, catch up with your team. Maybe in a few days' time, have a virtual coffee, have a coffee in person if you're able to, and talk through like what were the highlights for you? What were the things you do differently? It's really important to communicate and share these ideas because that way you're always going to be learning from the storytelling that you've been doing. And pass back to Beth.
Fabulous. So we've got a little bit of an activity. So I don't know, those in the room will kind of split into two halves maybe, and basically want to use these fundamentals of storytelling and pitching with just some random objects. So we've got our PwC merch, our stash. So you can either choose one of these or some earrings you've got on or a t-shirt or whatever, and within your little groups you want to try and sell it to each other. So take those principles of storytelling and just apply it to a water bottle. How can we do this? So yeah, we'll get into small groups and then take it in terms of selling your item, kind of have a think and then sell, and then give some feedback to your other members, kind of what went really well, like was their body language really great and you can tell that they were like really passionate about their item, their earrings, whatever, or were they talking a bit quietly and actually maybe you need to project your voice a bit more to really show like, oh yeah, this thing, it's ace, I'm telling you the story. So yes, if we try and get into some small groups, put some things into practice. If you're watching alone, have a think, how can you tell a story about your item?
Maybe an item on your desk perhaps, that might be quite helpful. Go for it.
Right, do you guys want to go in a group of four?
Yeah. Would you like the item? Oh, you're going to sell this? I think you can sell this. Sell it
Right, do you wanna? I'm gonna.
Yeah, I haven't really completed it yet. I feel like I can see the confidence. I don't think I have. Do you think Stephen's got it?
Do we put it forward today? Right, I think maybe
Really teeth.
so
I like this.
I guess it's kind of
So guys, this
essentially
saw it from across the room. I have this thing, I'm self-employed, so I kind of really resent buying my own stationery. So you've got your copies, pen, a notebook, obviously you do work in it, but yeah, I buy it all myself. I really resent going to the shops, buy myself everything, and yeah, so anyway, I was kind of thinking across my mind getting one of those today. I bought my own. I was all very prepared, but I saw this and I was like, this will be my own book for the hackathon. This will be my main book. The colour, like the little some little logo, kind of pressed in, lined paper. I mean, and then I bought it. So I got myself a book today as well. Memento. I don't know if it's really exciting, but bit of a story. Yeah, I really am.
This is a good thing. I am going to be on. And I have that are all the same colour.
Yeah, I think as well sometimes
I love the colour blue, so I keep buying the notebook. a lot of time.
But
yeah,
these
I
are
was starting
the number of
It's like all that was like thing for the
these are obviously essential for my day-to-day. So when I came across this useful item, I immediately knew this will be perfect for
Pauline, maybe you want to do some pitching? Want to pitch it to us?
It's like my job, I should get it. I'm like, wait. Let me go and get the key point.
these lines are perfect.
Why is this one
You can clearly see right and the lines will be any of your. You can also attach your passport, which is really very important.
You can tell what the towards the left, so when you talk about this one, you can refill it.
So this is really the perfect thing to carry around with you. It will stick out all the time. You'll be able to spot the systems straight away. You'll be able to find it whenever you need it. Right.
Suction.
So it's nice. I would recommend everyone.
It's alright.
I like the way you can sit in and you talk about the blue notebooks and you're like, this, the red one.
Do you want to say what's something different?
I was like, yeah, I like robots, and now I and I like to start again.
I did this storytelling, like trying to fundamentals of water, but then not just water. I'm ready to send it.
I feel like I need to stand up.
His body,
Convince myself that So guys, thank you for coming to my talk. Here I have a code now. You've heard of code before, but this is what you should buy. We're here today for 24 hours. You might need a bit of energy, a bit of a pick me up. You've had 3 coffees already. You want something a bit sweeter, something to perk you up, you know? Coke's your man or woman. And don't you worry, we offer the whole range. You want low sugar, got it. It doesn't sugar, got it. Anything you've probably got it.
Really well, and I think that
Now, you know, we've got stylish can, we've got contest. What more do you want? Is that?
I think I say my second back tomorrow. So that's it. Send me a remember the numbers for that. I'll ask you again. You know what I mean? I'll ask you next week. I think that was a good.
I feel like it helps.
Yeah.
I know that all my more successful pitches and practice pitches.
I definitely find it actually helps to stand up when it's because I find it like in this sense talking people
especially in like a
you
business.
kind of feel like you've got a bit of a character
Yeah.
stand up and you're like
You're not very rarely in a situation.
So I'm interested to know, so what
The
about
front
when you're
row
working with
Yeah.
conversation is how
So how do you feel about that, like making sure that you're
yeah.
People really enjoyed it.
I find it a lot more.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm really like
And actually, I think you get that
Yeah.
from being
Like,
is
yeah.
that
But if
connection.
it's online, I find myself just like.
You could do a presentation and Zoom it, sit there.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I have
find
like
it
a bit that outside.
You can zone out, yeah.
Is that when I found out
I think
about
it's really
7%,
important
it's
that
just the
you're
words
there.
and practice, it's virtual. So
Oh,
much
yeah.
harder.
Yeah.
You can't see it. I'm always there like, so we're like, from my hands are like here, like trying to like show.
20 people on, so I need to make sure you're okay as well. So I might just throw some things that go. So,
You're so gets me distracted.
okay, so
I just lose your train of thought. Yeah. Or someone's doing something else. And the first time I joined the woman tech, she was sharing this screen. We were doing introduction. We started Googling Kerry while I was trying to get my introduction. Really threw me off. So funny. So funny.
Yeah, because it just saves quite a lot of time.
Yeah.
What do you think about like pitching yourself? Like personally, I find it that I do it in
really quite lose confidence as they go as well. And for me, I find
What are you going to tell?
So yeah, almost finished. Oh yeah, we've got like. It's not the end. It's all right.
but I think like you know, when you're pitching for yourself,
I wasn't going to
you want a really good friend. I think Tom said for me, voice assessment is like I did a direct tutorial yesterday. The person who I met they just had their bullets.
They were talking about
but they made sure that it was in a as well. So they really thought through like the themes that they wanted to talk about. Like, and I think one of the good ways to kind of reflect on that is like, what are the like top three things that you want people to remember about you, right? Like, if you pick through.
The worst thing is when you need to say that.
Yeah, exactly.
the question like tell me about yourself.
It's not about you.
It's all about like.
I like how you kept it to yourself. Like you said you like ran out of sex, but you just stopped it like there, and then like you still like
Tell me about yourself.
tone the conversation
Actually,
before you were
I always start with like what I enjoy doing my spare time. Reason for that is
yeah, because that just helps you join in as well, because then you're like actually like did you tonight? Yeah, that was good. That was me, that's all I
Okay, I think we need to go. I've never heard that before, but I'll take my
Okay, so thanks for all taking part in doing our little task today. So I don't know, is there anyone in your group who thought it was a really effective pitch and what made it particularly effective? Anyone?
Alex did, yeah.
How was Alex good?
Alex was selling PwC.
Yeah, I was trying to
I was about to buy
Seems an easy client, it's fine.
Well, what did Alex do particularly well? What do you think made the impact of you? You're like, yeah, I want this one.
Yeah. So I think he qualified my needs really well. He was asking how can you drink water, which was a bit more like technical. I think he benefits of the bottle, body language strong. So yeah, I think he did really well.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Anyone else? Anyone else did a good job?
Can I make a generic comment? I found that like the pictures where they make you think or engage you, or like, and using pauses for like a dramatic effect rather than not it being awkward, but it just like making a point to like let the point sink in and like draw people in and keep them listening is really important, and it's really good.
Cool. This group?
Izzy did really well with selling the notebook. She said something like, I saw this notebook like straight away, and it's like that immediate impact was really good.
And I thought for like you combine like a story with the selling points, and I thought that was really effective.
And there was a big reveal as
Yeah,
well.
it was a reveal.
Dramatic.
We had some drama. Excellent. And how do you think, what would be like your takeaways, like how are you going to take away what we've just been like sharing with each other, like for your pitches tomorrow? Any themes? Any useful themes?
Definitely, I think body language.
I'm not in a team, but I think when, like, say if I'm speaking to candidates or even like sharing the story of us, I think I'll include reflective questioning a little bit more. So asking questions like, when was the last time you experienced this, and asking that because it makes you sit back and think. And I think you did that. You did that, and it makes you stop and think, and then you connect with what they're saying.
I really like that. Thank you. Anyone else want to share anything?
I think the story part of it is really important because it really, we're just drawn to stories in general. So it's like if you start with a story, people are even more intrigued about what's to come and what you're offering in relation to that. So I think that's a really good way to actually start a pitch, make it more personal.
And I think body language, because I get really quite nervous speaking in front of people, which is funny because I think there's like a level like 5, 6, 7 people maybe okay, but as soon as you get 8, 9, 10, I get really nervous and it's fine. But so I think just that idea of like how do you want to come across and just like focusing on like, even if I'm nervous on the inside, if I look like being more aware of how I look on the outside.
I think it's a really good point. I think it's really important to visualize like how you want to be and think of that in the future. I mean, our little group, we were actually just having a quick chat about interviews and like how to be in responses in interviews and responding to questions like, well, tell me about yourself. Well, that's quite a big question, isn't it? And I responded and I said, well, actually, if I'm asking that question to somebody who I'm paneling, then actually what I really want to know is like, what do you like to do in your spare time? Because I really want to understand, like, you come into an organization, you're going to come and do a job, but actually your work-life balance is also really important to us. So we love to hear about what you're doing in your spare time. So don't hold back on that kind of information. Okay, bringing that back to like the pitches, absolutely. Sharing personal stories, I think, has been really effective. Yeah.
I was just going to say similar points to you about body language. I really liked how Holly kind of like really stood up and really presented instead. That really drew my attention as well.
When you're aware, like I just caught myself fiddling with my head, and I was like, I can't be giving a presentation about body language like this. Oh.
Like building off the like familiarity, I think it really helps. I feel like if people think that you are also care about what they have to say and that they're part of the conversation rather than just being talked at, then people are more likely to listen and really take in like what you're going to say.
I think it's a really great point. I think the listening is equally as important as talking. And sometimes you're not always going to get a response back, but to your point as well, it's about like being able to kind of ask those reflective questions. I think especially when you're interacting with a really big audience, I think that's a really effective way to draw people into your conversation. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. So we've got, here it is. I'm going to pass back to Beth. She's going to take you through some of the key themes that we've talked about today.
Yeah, so just to kind of finish off, we wanted to leave you with a really step-by-step on this is how you can communicate with impact. So first of all, thinking about your audience and the environment that you're going to be in. So obviously tomorrow you're in a pitch environment, you're on the sell. So having that at the forefront of your mind, and the £5,000 might also help. You can then tailor what you're going to say and, okay, I think this would be a really effective way of showing the value in the application or whatever that you're building. So the second one is very much linked to the first one, is know your purpose again. What are you trying to get out of it? What is the end goal going to be? So I think creating a structure, we all know it in practice, but actually sitting down and again links back to that storytelling aspect of it. Okay, what's our beginning, middle and end? How are we engaging the audience through questions and then telling the story, showing the importance of your pitch or what you're trying to solve in the pitch environment. I think 4, again, plan how you start. It's always, once you start, then you can kind of roll with it a little bit more, but having those first couple of words planned out will actually this are the points that I want to cover in the first couple of minutes. Also how it's like, okay, you reason into it a little bit. I don't have the same nerves that I had previously. Like, okay, I'm going to start with this and start with this. And then you can kind of roll it there from there a little bit more easily. Again, you need to know how you're going to end. I think someone was saying that, oh yeah, with the big reveal, you're ending with an impact, and that was a really good way of kind of putting your points across to the audience. So if you know, okay, I want to finish with this as a question, you know, like, oh, I could really see the value of this application that we've built, then having that as your finishing point also helps you not go on and on. It's very easy to ramble, which I'm doing a little bit now. But if you know how you're finishing, then it's much easier to get to that point. So yes, plan if you need visuals. So I spent the last couple of days putting together our visuals for today, which has helped us really navigate what we want to say and make sure that we're communicating it with impact. So this is definitely a bit more one for your pitches, but anticipating questions. What do you think maybe you haven't been able to cover in, you know, you've only got 24 hours, what haven't we been able to cover, or what would we have done if we had 2 weeks to work on this? Or, okay, we understand that this may be something that we've not been able to include, but this is how you could prepare it for the future. This is how the application could be adapted for other situations. And then finally, rehearse. Again, always easier to say rather than do, but it's just much easier when you have a plan and you know, okay, Belle's going to be doing this bit, Beth's going to be doing this bit. It just means that it's much easier to then go up and say, hey guys, this is how you communicate with impact, and you've got the plan and you've done a bit of rehearsal to kind of talk it through. So yes, this is our session on communicating with impact. I don't know, is there any questions from anyone or any points that you want to call up? Or
I'm going to go back to the storytelling as well, because I know that that was the bit that really resonated with everyone, just in case you wanted to get a picture of that. But I believe, are the slides going round, or?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fab. Okay.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Any questions at all, as Beth was saying? Go for it.
Question. So when I was delivering my pitch, I trailed off at the end because I became less confident. So whenever I've been speaking for an extended period of time, I have this voice in my head where I go, you've been speaking for too long, people want you to stop talking, and that's why I become quieter. So I just wondered, is there anything that you do to combat like nerves or anxiety when you're presenting something and you're getting to the end? That's when I trail off, and that's also why I trail off.
I think that if you find you're trailing off, it's really important just to take a little pause. Just like I did there. Because no one noticed. You did because you were listening, but no one really noticed. And just take a breath. Just take a breath. You can just breathe in, breathe out, and restart. It's absolutely fine to do that. People, if you think about a beautiful poem, there's always pauses. If you think about a beautiful passage of literature, there's different articulation and punctuation in it for a very good reason, because you don't just run straight through on one sentence. So I think you're absolutely fine to pause. The other thing is, if we go back to this piece here, is think about, is plan the end. So if you think that you have, perhaps, if you're beating yourself up that you're trailing away a bit, then the way that I would combat that is to be really clear that in your mind, if you think you've got to that point, then you've already planned your conclusion and you can skip straight to the conclusion. And again, take a little pause and go, okay, I'm going to go to the conclusion now. And off you go. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Any other questions at all? Fantastic. Ooh. Thank you so much for your participation. Thanks to everybody who's joined us online as well. I know this has been recorded. If you have any questions, you can hashtag the PwC team. We're really happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.